Harlem native known as the Lion of Lenox Avenue died last month at 94. A former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs says he spent a day preparing king nights with food, clothes, condoms, and red lights. This follows a federal agent's testimony about guns and baby oil found at Diddy's Los Angeles home. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and other charges. And Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is urging peaceful protest after over 15 people were arrested during a Tuesday demonstration. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Dr. Sean Sawaya. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders, and to my co-host, Will Sutton. Will be back on Wednesday. But welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday, top of the week, and there's really so much to talk about. But I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Mine was pretty restful. I went to a baby shower a gender reveal on Father's Day. My sister's cousin is having his first baby, and my sister is in Houston, so she asked me to stand in for her, like to attend the event, bring the wipes, because it was wipes for boys, diapers for girls, and ended up being a boy. So shout out to WAP. We call him WAP. He's a standout football player at Walker in high school, so he's still doing some phenomenal things, and he's getting ready to be a father. I guess it's amazing to find out that you're about to be a boy dad on Father's Day. So I guess that's a double blessing for him. But happy Father's Day to all of you fellas out there. I hope your Father's Day went extremely well. I saw a lot of love being shared for y'all all over social media and whatnot. But happy Father's Day. I did tell y'all on Friday, happy Father's Day, but I'm telling you again, happy Father's Day. Shout out to my folk down there in the parish who are always listening. And my boy Rooster, happy Father's Day. Shout out to you as well. Happy Father's Day to all of the men, the WBOK listeners. Pop, happy Father's Day. All of the owners, everybody. Happy Father's Day to y'all. So let me tell y'all. So last week, I want to say it was Friday. I can stand to be corrected, but I believe it was Friday. It really stormed, but there was a meeting for the Recreation is Back people over at UNO. I went to the meeting, but Soror business called because my Soror ended up having an issue. She needed my help. I left to go and look after her, but the meeting wasn't really a meeting. It felt more like an unveiling, maybe a ribbon cutting or something of that nature, because it definitely wasn't a meeting. The thing that happened at the field on Franklin was literally, hey y'all, we did it. Like that's what it was. It wasn't a meeting to discuss anything. There were some elders who came looking for a meeting in quotation marks, because that's what they were calling it, but it wasn't a meeting. It was we did a thing. That's what it was. But I was there early enough to jump into some conversation with Lowry, I believe his name is. He walked in. I saw Laura Canizero there as well. All of the money people, you could tell they had their little polos on, collared, real nice. They were looking like, they just came from the country club or the golf course somewhere. So you could tell where the money was out there. But they was all there. And I ended up talking to Lowry because he walked in. He had the 18th Ward shirt on, so it wasn't hard to spot him. He was also with a group of black folk, black men and women walking with him, And Larry, I'm sure you're listening. We exchange numbers. If you want to call, the number is 504-582-9422. I welcomed you to the show whenever you want to have a real conversation and answer my questions in a very direct way. Because that's what I told him. I asked him a question. He telling me everything but the answer to my question. I say, look, I asked a very specific question. What happens to the children who Laura used all that data for and talked about how dilapidated the facilities are and, how the kids deserve so much, but then you turn around and say recreation is back as if it went somewhere. But then in an article that came out after y'all's little ribbon cutting, it was, we're expanding recreation, but that's not what you're doing. That's not what you're doing. And I would rather you be honest about what this is as opposed to misleading people. See, that's where my problem is, because I have no problem with expanding recreation. I think all children should have access to the most robust programming, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, no matter what zip code they live in, no matter who their father and mothers are, they should have access like any other child in the city of New Orleans. But the problem that I'm having with this entire recreation is back crowd is the disingenuous nature in which Laura went about doing this. You spent countless hours of your time and countless articles degrading and talking down on an entity that actually is the foundation of it is volunteerism. But y'all not about to be volunteering over over at UNO. That's going to be a paid gig. I'm hearing the kids might have to pay to play. So I'm confusion, and I'm confusion because I think that y'all think that we buy what y'all selling. No, we don't. Because, see, I have an issue because I can remember when the native New Orleanians had an issue with NORA being commissioned. Nobody listened. Nobody listened. And those same arguments were had. The facilities are not up to date. The kids don't have any real place to play. There are no nets on the basketball courts. Some of the parks don't even have basketball courts. Some of the facilities aren't open. I remember all of those issues that native New Orleanians had about commissioning NORA. But you commissioned it anyway. But now, I guess since the well-to-do folk, who are connected to the big money brokers, y'all could just make $2 million a pill. And all of a sudden you could create the fantasy of recreation that you want. As opposed to using us as data to talk about how bad things are, to get the funding and then take it elsewhere. So that was my question to Larry. I wanted to know what happens to that population of children where Laura did her data collection for her articles that she was putting out, talking about how nasty the facilities were. Now, let me tell you something very clearly. I have some of the same issues with some of the parks that are under the umbrella of NORD. And I've made them very known 2 councils ago. This isn't new. This isn't new. And I'm still having some of the same issues about Morris FX Jeff Stadium, that formerly known as Berman. Right? You can still have some of those same issues that we had 2 councils ago. And I didn't see $2 million come out of thin air for the kids in that area. But I guess you want us out of LJS to get on buses and go to UNO so we could have the facility that we desire. See, that's my issue. And then when I had the conversation with Laurie, he was talking to me, in this, well, I don't agree with, some of the things that were, well, then say that then. Say that. Because, see, y'all like to whisper the truth and be real loud about the negativity. I don't want to hear it like that. And you allowing Laura to get in articles and degrade programming that children who come from certain means have to depend on, kind of like public schools, right? We watched y'all do the same thing, degrade them and demean them and talk about how terrible it was, that the teachers weren't worthy of having jobs and there was stolen money all over the place and the buildings were not up to par. And what y'all did? Y'all came in with all this money and tried to create all this innovation. That's what you were selling, wolf tickets. And here we are, 20 years later, still having the same issues. The buildings are better. Mm-hmm. The money is flowing in. The workforce is not better than it was pre-Katrina. Nope, not by far. right? And then the kids can't read. So the only measure that I can have about what you gonna do is what I've seen you do already. And what I've seen you do is come in and promise us a lot, and we got a little in return. So I'm apprehensive about what's gonna happen at UNO and what population is it gonna serve. Is it gonna answer all of the ills that Laura so conveniently pointed out in every news article she could talk in? I mean, I know your last name is Canizero. I know that. So I know that your people are pretty powerful in terms of politics. But I don't need a title or a well-connected daddy to tell you where you got me messed up at and my children. You got us messed up because you think we buying what you selling. I just want to see what you're going to do over there. I want to see what kids are going to be serviced over there. I want to see what is happening at UNO, if that's going to affect what you say was going on at all of these other parks. Because, I mean, $2 million only could go but so far. Right? And then I'm hearing that this is going to be year-round programming. So y'all paying people year-round and y'all got our folk volunteering year-round? At those same dilapidated parks that we've been begging to resuscitate for years? You ask any member on the council how long I've been on them about Berman, because that's the facility where my high school plays at. You know, those state champion football players over there in Algiers, that's their home facility. We've lost games from nationally ranked opponents because nobody wants to play in dilapidation, but our kids are forced to do it because that's their home field. And see, when we play those nice, affluent schools from other places, they move us to a different facility so the visitors won't see how we living. What about those kids, Laura? I just have questions, and I would like to have answers, because what y'all gonna find is not everybody is afraid to go toe-to-toe with y'all. I know I'm not. Not everybody's afraid to tell you that what you selling, we ain't buying. Not everybody's afraid to call a thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, y'all playing in our face. But you think you doing it quietly. Because I saw a whole bunch of black folk, too, at the meeting. So here's my question. I saw some council members. I saw some attorneys who got billboards all over the city, like to talk about how they helping the youth. But I just want to know where all these people be at. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where y'all be at? Or where y'all was at when Laura was degrading Nora? Y'all didn't come together like a congregation to try to see how to put money and resources into the facilities for our kids. But y'all showed up for the folk over there at UNO. Please don't think we not watching, because we are. I know I am. And I ain't scared to call none of y'all by name. Not none of y'all. So I want to know, when did the council find out that this was going on? Because our state legislators said they had no clue that this was happening. I talked to my senator. Y'all know who he is. He had no clue that this was happening. So I want to know when the Eugene Greens of the world found out, when the Oliver Thomases of the world found out, when the Helena Morenos of the world found out. I want to know when y'all found out. Freddie King, tell me when you found out that Nord, they were using Nord as a launch pad for UNO. Talking real nasty about it to go take their $2 million cross town. When y'all knew this was happening? I want to know these things because it matters, especially since it's election season. And we're going to talk about these races that are coming up, because we know there's a mayoral race. We know that there's a sheriff's race, right? But there are judges coming up as well. Because, last week I was telling y'all about court and how it operates. They're elections, and our elections ought to have consequences. Because, they like to say that because it sounds good, but our elections ought to have consequences, because you can't come to our community and tell us one thing and then go across town and put a different face on for the other people. So if you don't represent our interests, go across town and ask them people for their vote and see if they vote could carry you. Because I'm tired, Naren. I'm so tired of this. Like, how much do you have to take from us? Huh? Because I feel like if we lay down and die, you'll pillage our corpse, because that's how we feel. The kids barely have anything, and the little that they do have, we watching folk just come in and take it. I want to know, when did the New Orleans City Council find out about this programming that was going on at going over at UNO, because everybody acting like they didn't know. but y'all showed up and y'all was nicely dressed. So somebody told you about it. When did they tell you? When did they tell you? And did you sign on quietly? Because I'm not about to let none of y'all do nothing quietly. I ain't playing with none of y'all at all. I don't care who you are. I don't care what title you hold. I don't care what position you running for. You're going to have to come answer to us, because gone are the days that we just allow you to sell us wolf tickets. Nope. You ain't about to Derek Shepard us. Yep. Yeah, I use this name. Straight up fraudulent. I'm tired of y'all being fraudulent to the community. Y'all come over here and tell us one thing, then you go by them people and tell them something different. Look what's happening to Jefferson Parish School since he sat down in that seat. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. And if you got a problem with anything I'm saying, there's 2 seats here. You're welcome to come join me. 504-582-9422. I am sick. I'm sick. Do our kids deserve anything? Something. They had the audacity to put a flyer out and say recreation is back. What? After they went on a press tour, talking about how nasty and uninhabitable our facilities are. But when they got their money, what did they do with it? They didn't go and rehab the facilities, So the facilities are still nasty, right, Laura? They still inhabitable, right, Laura? You took your $2 million and you went cross town. So clearly, all of the places that you had so much to say about, who takes care of those things? Yeah, because we could talk about what North Sea isn't doing, because we've been saying that, right? And this ain't no shot against no one particular person. This is a system failure. This is a system problem. I'm still waiting for Berman to reflect the type of excellence that happens on that football field or on that track. I'm still waiting for the facility to mirror what the kids are capable of. And we've been asking that for years. That didn't just start, and we didn't need Laura to tell us about it. Yeah, your daddy last name Canizero, but I'm a Wyatt, baby. And my grandmother told me, don't fear no man. What man can do to you? I'm a Wyatt, and this WBOK, and we talk about black issues, and we amplify black voices and black experiences over here. And the experience that black children are having are not the same as the other children in the city, so we're going to talk about it. All it takes is to talk about what black people not doing, and $2 million just come out the air. Nari? We got to go to break, y'all. But I'm going to keep talking, so I hope you keep listening. Y'all stay with us right here. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about. Mike, I see you. I'm going to talk to you in a few. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat, brought to you by FidelityWealthManagement.com. The NBA Finals are underway and featuring teams that are not in major markets. The Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers don't have the type of market or name recognition that teams like, say, the Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, or New York Knicks have. But Rumble Venture Capital managing partner Earl Patton says the NBA probably isn't complaining.
The NFL has been, pretty much the pinnacle point of parity. And with the NBA, it was always led by superstars, and particularly superstars in big markets. Now you have a surgence of young stars in smaller markets. I don't think the NBA could be in a better place right now.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Thunder and Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers are two of those young budding stars that should have long, successful careers for their smaller market teams in the NBA. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies the same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed, stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Morning show. Happy Monday, everybody. If you're just joining us, baby, the conversation is already piping hot. And my super producer told me I need to calm down because I can't fight the good fight if I'm stretched out on the floor. That's what he just told me. So I'm going to calm down. Right now, we get ready to jump into a conversation with Mike Cowan from the New Orleans Crime Coalition talking about the NOPD survey. Good morning, Mike. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, look, we're happy to have you. So there's I'm just here. I didn't know there was a New Orleans Crime Coalition. Can you talk to us about that? Like, is that a different entities all coming together? Who is the New Orleans Crime Coalition?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. The Crime Coalition actually came together a year after Hurricane Katrina. And some of the founding organizations were Citizens for One Greater New Orleans, the Urban League, Puentes Business Council, Common Good, Crime Stoppers, Police and Justice Foundation. So all of the organizations that have focused primarily on crime and crime prevention, plus other citizens organizations that were organized after the hurricane. And we met actively for, I want to say, 7 years and looked at the whole set of issues related to crime, including the state of the jail, including how many people were in the jail, policing, sentencing. And then over time, each of the organizations, went on with their own missions, but we have done this survey together since 1999.
Since 1999.
Yeah.
So it says that the NOPD satisfaction rating increases for the second consecutive year following record low. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, that that the low point that we hit in our survey was 2 years ago, and that for the last several have been moving back in the right, in a better direction, according to our survey.
And so I see that the survey also talks about a generational divide, which is intriguing to me because it says that folk who are of different age brackets have a different experience with NOPD. Can you talk in more detail about that? It says 34%.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested in that too.
Yeah.
Can I correct one thing that I said? Our first survey was in 2009.
Okay, yeah.
2009 to 20. Yeah, you got that.
Because I figured because the founding was 07, so we were going to get to it.
No,
but
you're
thank
right.
you
No,
for that.
you're right. And so there are 16 of those surveys that, like the one that you have a copy of there. So the way it appears is that I'll just give you some examples. If we look at what people who are 18 to 44 said, first of all, their number one priorities are different. People who are 18 to 44, 11% of them said that the streets were the most important thing on their minds, and in the 45 plus, that was 21%. 18 to 44, 14% focused on climate change, and 3% of 45 plus did. And then on low-income housing, 18% of 18 to 44 were focused on that, and 12% of 45 plus. So it's it looks like a generational difference in priorities, I guess is what I would call it.
Well, yeah, that's why it stuck out to me because if the bracket between 18 and 44 are having a less than desirable experience than the older generation, that tells me because they're interfacing with NOPD in a different way. And so I just I'm curious to see what that is in a more robust way. I also see here that it says a majority of residents now say the city is safe, an 11-point increase. Is there any way where we can see, or is the raw data available to us, like which areas of the city you surveyed? Like what was your sampling for this survey? Like, is that anywhere where I can see that?
Yes, absolutely. Let me comment on one of those parts that you raised, and then we can talk about the other thing. This was a first of all, it's a perception. It's a perception of a study of citizen perceptions, which just means
got you. Mm-hmm.
That So this is how the people who responded to the survey see various things, especially the police department.
Okay.
It doesn't tell us why they see them the way they do. It just it's a survey. It says what people are reporting. It's a random sample. There were 800 adults. It's a stratified sample, which means that it's representative of the racial makeup of the city. Mm-hmm. Let's see, I'm sorry, you asked me one other thing?
Oh, no, I just asked about the raw data, but that's what you're talking about now. That's what I wanted to hear, like how many people. So it was out of 800?
The sample size is 800.
Okay. And it was done by phone, or did they have to log into something and do it? Was it just like a phone type of thing where you hit a button?
All phone, 81% cell phone and 19% landlines.
Okay. And it also says that strong majorities of residents ranging 68% to 93% support crime reduction strategies, including the use of computer analytics, camera technology, and facial recognition. And the reason why that one stuck out to me so much is I've been in those meetings at the city council where folk are fiercely against facial recognition because it has like a built-in bias for folk who are Black or people of color. And this is not me saying that. This is what the feedback of the folk who are against it are saying, that more often than not, it misrepresents Black folk because of how it's set up.
And I know that that's not just you saying that, because I've heard it. I've seen reports of those meetings, and Yeah, it's good that we speak, I think, directly about that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say what the survey showed this year about facial recognition. And by the way, I'm sure you know about the ordinance that Councilman Thomas and Councilman Green are bringing on this on the matter of facial recognition.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Yeah. So anyway, but just in case this might be useful to people who are trying to think about this, the support of overall in the study in the survey as a whole was 68%. So that's very high. Whites 57% and blacks 78% in support of facial recognition specifically. Now, I should say that the approach that's being that I think the council people, I haven't seen the draft, but I believe that the one they're bringing forward has been modified since it was presented a couple of years ago, and there was the reaction that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back to the generation thing for a second.
Yes.
18 to 44, 56% of them expressed support for facial recognition. Among women, it was 71, and among men, it was 64. So, that's a very positive evaluation across all of our different groups, as well as the group as a whole.
Oh no, I want it to be positive. I want the city to be moving in a more peaceful, safe, happy, thriving direction. So I have no issue. I just had questions about.
Yeah, sure. No, I didn't think that you did. I just wanted to give you that breakdown.
Yeah, and so on the survey, in terms of the results and public perception, NOPD satisfaction has risen for a second consecutive time. From the perspective of the New Orleans Crime Coalition, what are the most important factors driving the upward trend?
Well, that's the question of the hour, really. And let me name a couple of things. I've been involved with the Crime Coalition with this survey since 2009. In fact, our first survey was when Warren Riley was the police superintendent and Ray Nagin was mayor. Every year, all the way through. So the driving concern, I believe, is what in the consent decree process, in my opinion, has been a huge driver of change in the department, partly because it's gone so deep and partly because it went on for so long. I doubt that there aren't very many other police departments who have gotten such an in-depth scrutiny over such a long period of time, and we needed it. I read the original Department of Justice report that led to the consent decree, and it was very discouraging. It was very almost dumbfounding how much was broken in the police department. I think the consent decree has made a very positive difference on that. Just my view. I'm not gauging this from the survey specifically, but it seems pretty clear to me that the department is in much better shape now than it was at the time of Katrina, but it was in very bad shape then. So we had a long way to go. So the consent decree was one thing, and the focus on what's called constitutional policing. I think that's been the driver of this whole thing of the consent decree, and every specific part of it, one way or the other, is meant to get us to the point where the policing that's done in the city, and policing has to be done, but it has to be done constitutionally, or it does harm, in addition to whatever else it's doing.
So the data also says that 84% of residents say their neighborhood is safe, compared to 54% citywide. What does this disparity tell you about localized safety concerns?
Yeah, well, that's great, isn't it? Great. It's interesting, and we found that every single year. And if I could just summarize it in this way, that people feel much safer in their own neighborhood than they do in the city as a whole. So I guess that tells me a couple things. One is that everybody's 84% of neighborhoods can't be considered safe. So somehow people feel safer when they're in a familiar place. That's how I understand it.
Yeah.
And even if that place objectively has, crime or violence, if people are in their home area, they tend to feel better. But the number that we're seeing there is actually going up for the city as a whole now, and of course that's what we need. I think part of it is just that people are anxious when they're in unfamiliar territory.
And you mentioned something about the jail. Can you tell me like any data outcomes from the survey as it relates to the actual jail?
The only, because we're focused on the police department, the only direct information that we have about how people regard the jail, how citizens regard the jail, is that the sheriff's approval rating dropped a lot between this survey and the last one. We've had that controversy, of course, about the escapees, and that's probably fueling this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So can you talk to us about how you've used past surveys to lead to any tangible changes or reforms in policing practices?
Yes. This survey is it's funded by Baptist Community Ministries and by the Business Council, and I say that just to say that it's not a survey that's conducted by the city, and it's not a survey that's conducted by the police department. It's conducted by the Crime Coalition, which is independent of all of those, looks at all of those in different ways. And so the independence of the study is one thing that I think is bringing some added value to the discussion locally about crime. The other thing is that we've done it 16 times since 2009, and so you can see on the seventh slide and the material that you have there shows you a picture of satisfaction year by year from 2009 to 2025, and you can see it, starting up, moving down, moving back up, going down about as low as it has been, and now starting to move back up in a positive direction. So it's not just a data point; it's a set of them going back 16 years.
And I'm interested in this this idea that there's a part 2 of the survey, which will include results on civic priorities and policymakers. So without revealing any results early, can you hint at what themes or insights we could expect?
What you'll find there is the key leaders, city leaders, and institutions, how they are regarded by the people who responded to this survey at this point. And I can tell you that list. That would be the mayor, the council, the police chief, the district attorney, the sheriff, the Orleans Parish Criminal Court and Juvenile Court judges, the Sewage and Water Board, and the Civil Service.
Oh, so that's a good robust group of people.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to part 2.
To you now, by the way.
I'm looking forward to part 2, Mike, because I want to know how the policymakers and folk who are in positions to not only help us create legislation and enforce us. I want to know what they think of the city. Like, how do they feel they're doing it in their roles? But also, too, I had a question about economic diversity. Out of these 800 folk, was it stratified across economics as well?
No.
So do you believe that folk who are in different economic brackets have different experiences with the city of New Orleans?
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
I think that's kind of what drew my eye to the question about generational differences, because folk in the age bracket of 18 to 44 and then the 45 and above, I expect them to have different experiences with city services, with city leadership, because they are, and to my last question, they're in more often than not different economic brackets as well. The folk who are younger are not as stable as the folk who are older. They don't probably have like a real lived experience with these entities as a person that's 45 plus would probably have. So I'm just curious. I was just curious on the economic front.
The thing that puzzles me about it, and I think it's along the same lines of what you just said. What's going on with this younger group that's shown up now in 2 or 3 surveys as having a notably different view? And I think honestly that it could be, and this is me now, just trying to understand what's there. But I think that the next generation here that's coming, they may be less patient about some of the things that are broken here. They may have a different standard, and as the younger generation often does, are giving voice to the notion that we just can't let the status quo here continue.
Well, Mike, I absolutely lean into that, but if you know anything about me, I pay attention to things that are said, right? And your experience with the status quo may be vastly different than what I think is status quo, right? And more often than not, we see people taking our talking points in terms of our grievances with our city, and then they flip them and create their own outcomes. And that's what I'm afraid of every time I see a survey, because I'm like, are we asking the people most impacted by the problem? Are we asking upper echelon New Orleanians or people who kind of came here and decided to make New Orleans their home? We're asking them about their experience. That's why I always ask about the data, because I live here, grew up here. My experience is vastly different than what I'm seeing in a lot of these surveys that come out of like Tulane University as it relates to our schools, or Tulane University as it relates to anything. Because a Tulane University experience and the folk who are looking into it is vastly different than a Southern University at New Orleans experience. And I want to make that very clear, because gone are the times that we're going to just allow people to just shove surveys in our faces and we don't ask questions. I want to know, in terms of a deeper dive, how this information is being gathered and who they're talking to. Because I sit in the council meetings with my elders griping about city services, griping about their experience with New Orleans, but it doesn't ever seem like their experience are represented in these surveys. And that's what my issue is, Mike, and that's what I want to know. Are we talking to the people most impacted by the dilapidation of the city? Or are we talking to people, as you say, who are comfortable in their neighborhoods and have no idea what's really happening in real New Orleans? That's my push, Mike.
Yeah. Well, may I respond to that?
Yes, sir. You may.
Okay. So, people have to decide whether they believe in the information that a poll produces or whether they don't. And let's just say for the purpose of our conversation here, let's say that someone who looks at this poll would say, somebody who knows about polling would look at this and say, yeah, this is a good poll. This is technically correct. And so it can do what polls do. And then what do you get? You get a picture like the one that you and I have just been going through. Now, if someone says, well, they didn't call me, or this poll's been going on for 16 years and nobody ever called me, if somebody wants to discredit the polling method, then there's really nothing for us to talk about. Not you and me, but there's nothing for people to talk about, except we could have a debate about polling, I guess.
No, Mike. I want to be very clear about what I'm saying here. It's not to discredit the polling, because I believe whoever you talk to, this is an accurate picture of who you spoke to. My issue is, are we attempting to interface with the people most impacted with the realization of the city, right? That's what I'm saying. If I want to know what the real experience is in New Orleans, I want to talk to the culture bearers who keep the city rolling, but they're not making a living wage, right? I want to talk to the people who doing the service work, but they're not making a living wage, if I really want to know how the city is operating. So if I want to talk about NOPD, I want to talk about who the data says are interfacing with NOPD more often than not. And this survey and the outcome of it doesn't really speak to the experience that I know folk who look like me are having with NOPD. That's all I'm saying. And I'm a researcher, just like the folk who helped put this put this survey together. So I'm not discrediting the survey. I fully believe that the 800 people who answered it, this is a snapshot of their experience. What I'm saying is, are we actually going after the people to make sure that the data is inclusive of the real experience of people who are really interfacing with broken systems in the city of New Orleans? That's
and
what
how
I'm saying.
would you, other than a polling method, how would you do that?
No, I'm not saying you have to get away from polling. I'm saying who's a part of the polling. Like, are we trying to get the folk in the 70114 zip code a part of this polling, and the 70131 zip code a part of this polling, a 70122? You understand what I'm saying? I want to make certain that in the 800 people that we talk to, because remember, we just saw a poll from JMC Analytics that only talked to 500 people across the city as it relates to elections around here. And then we had that conversation on air too. So this is not a shot at the poll itself. All I'm saying is, I want to be able to see my experience reflected in surveys that happen in my city, where my folk have grown my entire, this is where we live. This is the legacy for me. So when I look at a poll and I see numbers that don't necessarily relate to the economic disadvantage, I have that question, because are we not a part of the New Orleans experience? The people who are living at or below the poverty line? That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, so then just maybe one other comment on that from me, and that is that the people who responded to the poll were randomly selected, and they reflected the the racial composition of the city.
Okay.
And so, of course, economics are in there, but they're not singled out.
Okay. I mean, those were the only question I had. And again, I don't want you to feel as though I'm trying to discredit your survey or the way that you did your survey. It's just that I have questions. I don't think questions are harmful. I think they help us grow in terms of our intent behind things, because all I'm asking for is our experience, the people who live and have grown here, that help this city rotate on its axis. I'm asking that those experiences are also counted in surveys that try to tell us what New Orleans is thinking, because we are New Orleans, and nobody's really asking us what we're thinking, and we're not really represented in surveys more often than not. And I'm not saying that's the case here. That's why I asked the question. I did not assume we weren't. I asked you so that I can understand better if we were.
Yeah. Yep. I heard you. So if I'm understanding, what you would want to know is, was this survey done properly? Was it inclusive of the population of the group that we're looking at, and so on? And those are important questions. We work at that.
Well, thank you, Mike. Because I don't want you to feel like I'm discrediting your work. I know how hard it is to put together surveys and to encourage people to participate in them. All I'm saying is, more often than not, when I'm reading a survey and I have questions, those questions are valid, and it's not a question of trying to discredit. It's a question of trying to understand how we got to the numbers that we got to. That's it. I take your questions. I take your questions as valid. Thank you so much, Mike. And listen, you're always welcome back here to give us the insight on surveying and polling when you're looking at different governmental entities. I'm curious about part 2. Do you promise to come back and talk to me about part 2?
I'd be happy. By the way, that is available to you now, and I would be happy to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to take a look at it, so I want to see it before I talk to you, so I already have my question, because I was forming my questions as I was looking at the survey. So I apologize if it felt uncomfortable, but I really just wanted answers to what was popping in my brain, Mike. So I appreciate you.
I'm not uncomfortable, I promise.
Thank you so much. And look, we're going to get back together, and when we do, we'll talk about part 2, but thank you so much for being here this morning. I appreciate you, Mike.
I look forward to it.
All righty.
Thanks.
Listen, y'all, we got to go to break, but we're going to keep talking. I hope you keep listening. Stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Accru NOLA invites you to join their community network in celebration honoring Juneteenth and Pride Month. On Thursday, June 19th, diverse professionals will gather for FET by Accru, an evening of authentic connection and collaboration from 5 to 8 p.m. at the lab on Ursulines Avenue. This safe, inclusive space brings together innovators across the greater New Orleans area and the Gulf South for meaningful conversations that advances your business and professional career. Accru creates pathways for sustainable growth through genuine community. So for driven networking like this, learn more at accrunola.com/RSVP.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Appreciate all of the WBOK listeners. Those of you who are engaging in the chat, please don't think I don't pay attention to the chat, because I do. So when you're posting your feedback, I'm looking, and if it's germane to the conversation, I'll grab your comment and talk about it on air. So just be mindful of that. If you drop something in the chat, I could possibly pull it and talk about it on air. But the conversation that I was having prior to Mike coming on, Mr. Cowan, it actually marries to the conversation I was having at the top of the show. And what I want to do is be very intentional about connections in this city and how dots come together and how people's interests align. Because more often than not, you're going to find that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So when people have a vested interest in something, you'll see folk come together who normally wouldn't come together because they're coming together for that specific thing. So what I'm asking folk in this city to do is, we might not necessarily agree on everything, but the one thing that we ought to agree on is a fierce defense of this city and its children. You could not like me about nothing else, but if you like the fact that I fiercely defend this city and its children, then come on, get on board, baby. Because what you're going to find is a lot of these coalitions, they don't all agree either, but they have an agenda too. And they all sticking to it. And I can see the fruits of that agenda everywhere I look in the city of New Orleans. Because she looked like she got a facelift. That's what it looked like to me. Like she went to a plastic surgeon, because I don't recognize her. Where she come from? Who is she? I'm disturbed by this. And I don't, sometimes I wake up and I ask God, what kind of day we gonna have today? And then I get here and the conversation start, and then God looking at me like, that ain't what we talked about, Ashanta. What kind of day we gonna have, God? Because all I ask is that you order my steps. Because see, when I fight righteously. I'm not trying to attack any person. I'm trying to attack a system that continues to devalue and demonize and destroy people who look like me. And I have a problem with that. And if I got to go up against people who look like me to get to better for the people who look like me, that's what I'm going to do. So I spare nobody. at all. And I don't expect anybody to spare me. If I step out of line, that is not in alignment with the purpose that God put here for me to do, check me. I could stand to be checked. That's why I don't have no problem checking. Because I could stand to be checked. Some of y'all can't stand to be checked. Y'all know y'all doing the wrong thing by your people. Y'all know the entity y'all help and fight for ain't worth a damn for your people, but you do it. Because it's profitable for you. Because you get to live in that nice house and you get to put on them nice clothes and you get to look down your sedity nose at the people who you feel like, why they struggling? They're struggling because they ain't selling out. That's why they're struggling. That's why. Because if I wanted to live as nice as you, I would do the things that you're doing, but that ain't part of my ministry. It ain't who I am, nor who I ever will be. So I'm going to need us to come together on the one thing we do agree with. You ain't got to agree with nothing else, but if you agree that New Orleans and its children deserve better, then you're going to sit up a little straighter when these conversations are happening. You're going to tell a person to their face where they got you messed up at. Because see, if they could get in your face and rub on your shoulder and talk real soft to you and lull you to sleep, that's what they going to do. But you better not touch my shoulder and think that you're going to talk crazy to me and rock me to sleep. No, baby, because I'm big old woke. Capital W. Yeah. I am. I see you. I see you. And I don't care how you dress it up. I don't care if you put on the finest threads. I don't care if you put your hands in your pocket when you talk to me. Because, that's what they like to do. They put their hand in their pocket when they're talking to you because they, I don't know if that's like a common thing for them or whatever. But I know you got money, but you're using it for all the wrong reasons. How much more of this city do you want to take? That's all I'm saying. And then we like to let people throw surveys and data points in our face and we don't have any questions about it. Well, I have questions. I want answers. Because my people are struggling in a city that they helped build. Our children are struggling in a city where they're dependent on us to protect them. I don't see them represented in these surveys and all this satisfaction that's going on. Because, Nara, why they got so much satisfaction but the people are unhappy? Make it make sense. Huh? The children are out there burning the city down every day, but they got so much satisfaction going on. All these satisfying surveys, but the people are unhappy. I'm gonna need us to get on one accord. And this is me asking nicely. Because I'm gonna tell you, before I talk to you, I talk to God. That's why I don't have no fear in me. He told me, I got your back. I need you to pay attention to your front. I got the front of me. He got the back of me. Who won't step to us? Let me know. Show us our opponent. Yeah. That's all I'm asking us to do. Get on one accord. Get on one accord. Because it ain't got to be all of us. As we know, some of us are batting for the other team, and that's fine. That's fine. But we're going to put our best hitter on the mound, and we're going to strike them out every time. That's all. That's all. I could play any game when I know the rules. And I'm asking us to get on one accord because this is serious. They got clerk of court elections coming up, judge elections coming up, city council elections coming up, mayoral elections coming up. We better get serious about the business of our city and our children. Because these people are playing for keeps. And it's all the same players. I got to go to break. Nyron waving at me like he about to land a plane, y'all. I'm going to keep talking. I hope you keep listening. This is WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to keeping and finding great teachers for our students in Orleans Parish. If you or someone you know is interested in becoming a teacher for the 25-26 school year, let us help you. We've created the New Orleans Teacher Job Board, which is the official job platform of public schools in New Orleans. You can apply to any school in the city. Simply post your resume and provide information about yourself. Visit our website to learn more and apply. www.neworleansteacherjobboard.org.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. NYPD is preparing for large No Kings Day protests Saturday with thousands of officers on standby. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is warning that crime and disorder will not be tolerated.
We will not allow violence and lawlessness.
Security is also being increased at Jewish and Israeli sites amid global tensions following Israel's strike on Iran. The 2026 Grammys are making changes, including a new category for Best Traditional Country Album. Best Country Album will now be called Best Contemporary Country Album. Beyoncé won in that category this year. And authorities are searching for 4 detainees after a riot at Newark, New Jersey's ICE facility. Immigrant rights groups say it stemmed from poor treatment, including lack of food and visitation. Black Mayor Ras Baraka called out the lack of oversight, and a recently released detainee spoke out about the conditions. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning. Wake up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Morning show. Happy Monday, everybody. It's after 8 o'clock, so anybody with a job is up. Anybody with a job where you have to be there for 8 o'clock, y'all woke, present and accounted for. I appreciate all of y'all for engaging in the chat, being up, listening on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're in a car, thank you for listening in. There's some avid listeners of WBOK, and we appreciate you over here. Right now, we're getting ready to jump into conversation with Darren Grubb, National Medicare spokesperson, talking about the powerful consensus that America's seniors want Congress to protect Medicare Advantage. Good morning, Mr. Grubb. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Great to be with you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
Listen, it's my pleasure. So just first things first, tell us about your organization, the Medicare Advantage Majority, as well as the Medicare Advantage program itself. What should our viewers and our listeners know about the program that they might not already know?
So we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting and strengthening the Medicare Advantage program, as you said in your open. So here's some more background. More than half of all eligible beneficiaries, over 34 million seniors and people with disabilities, use Medicare Advantage. In Louisiana alone, there are more than 540,000 seniors that are in the Medicare Advantage program. And the appeal of Medicare Advantage is that it delivers comprehensive, high quality, affordable care that goes beyond traditional fee-for-service Medicare. So Medicare Advantage offers benefits like dental coverage, vision, hearing, in-home care, services that are not available in many traditional Medicare plans. And 2 really important points. Unlike traditional Medicare, Medicare Advantage provides prescription drug coverage and a cap on out-of-pocket costs every year, which gives seniors financial peace of mind, especially during more inflationary, high-cost times like we're in right now.
But Darren, we know that this big ugly bill is out there, right? And this is how questions come to me. So my apologies. It's literally playing in my brain, and I'm telling it to you as I'm thinking it, right? If the big ugly bill is out there, like what impact would it have should it pass on what you're doing to ensure that our seniors have access to Medicare?
Yeah, so seniors have been, and I'm hesitant to talk about polling here, but we've got, we did a national poll of seniors around the country, and we did it a couple ways, and maybe some methodology would be helpful. So we did it online, but we also polled people in person. We did like focus groups in person, cross-section of seniors nationwide. And what we found was really interesting, and it tracks with what we heard from, what we've seen from other polls, other organizations. So 82% believe that any cuts to Medicare Advantage will have a negative impact on their financial well-being. 71% want Congress to oppose cutting funding for Medicare Advantage. 83% believe that additional benefits provided by Medicare Advantage plans are important not only to them but to their family members. And so, that last point is really important for a lot of people who, like me, I think I call myself a member of the sandwich generation. So I've got young kids at home to take care of, but I've also got aging parents and aging family members who need more care than they did even a few years ago. And so, we're becoming more and more responsible for helping our parents and our elders as well as caregivers. And so, the financial peace of mind knowing that Medicare Advantage provides that comprehensive coverage is important. And so, our message to Congress is that any effort to cut funding for a vital program for 34 million seniors around the country is something that we're going to fight to protect. The seniors have earned it. They've earned that peace of mind. They've earned the opportunity to age gracefully and to age independently in their later years.
Right. And I heard you say at the top of our conversation that your organization is bipartisan. What, in my opinion, an issue as important as healthcare ought to be a bipartisan issue. Why is it that so many folk are going on party lines when it comes to healthcare, specifically for the most marginalized and negatively impacted communities of people?
Yeah, that's a really good point, a really good question. Our coalition we are nonpartisan. We are powered by hundreds of thousands of local advocates nationwide, including in Louisiana. But our coalition is made up of beneficiaries, those who are receiving the benefits, the caregivers, healthcare providers, community leaders, really the entire caregiving ecosystem. That's kind of how we come at it. And so we don't represent any one. Clearly, don't represent one party or one point of view. We are mindful of providing for our message is simple. Republican, Democrat, left, right. We want you to stand up and protect seniors. They've earned this. They deserve it. They need to be assured that their health care is going to be a priority for the foreseeable future when it comes to funding the federal government and how we do that. There are lots of ways to cut. I know everyone's talking about in this big bill about how to need to cut spending. We certainly recognize that.
Right.
We believe it cannot be done on the backs of our seniors who need the care that they've been promised.
Right. And I mean, if we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, I mean, I just don't understand how our elder population or our population of folk who depend on programming to not only feed themselves, but to take care of themselves in terms of medical need. I don't understand how that is always like up for conversation. Why is healthcare why would we ever think to touch healthcare when we want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? So that's just, my thought on it. But I know that your background crosses various sectors, be it public, private, or nonprofit. How has that informed your approach to advocating for more inclusive and equitable healthcare?
And I mentioned this a minute ago, but just how it impacts me on a personal level with my own family, right? And I think that's where, most policy positions that anyone holds, that's how they're formed. How is it impacting you? How is it impacting your parents? How is it impacting your kids? And regardless of issue, right? I mean, it's all through the lens of your own experience. And so that's why it's a passion point for me, because I've seen how important this program is to my aging family members. So that's kind of why I'm involved. But I want to go back to a point you made a moment ago, and it's a fundamental point regarding funding. If funding is cut for Medicare Advantage, here's the facts. Seniors are going to pay higher premiums. They're going to pay higher deductibles. They're going to have higher out-of-pocket costs, calculated of upwards of $2,500 per year. And they're going to have less access to the doctors and the services they need. And so, again, at a time of high inflation, Medicare Advantage, the fact that they've got a cap on the out-of-pocket costs are important, especially for seniors on fixed incomes. That the majority of seniors enrolled in Medicare Advantage have incomes under $25,000 per year. And so, to your point, seniors should not be worrying about how they're going to pay for their health care as they get older. That's just, these are critical programs.
Especially when you've been working your entire life, and you just want to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And now you have to battle with your government to ensure that you have health care. So thank you for the advocacy that you do. It's so needed. And I always think about all of the different fires folk are trying to put out. Like we have somebody fighting on all fronts. So thank you for doing what you do. There's been a lot of talk about the gaps in healthcare, in the healthcare system, particularly for rural Americans. Do you feel Medicare Advantage helps fill those gaps?
I absolutely agree with you. There are gaps in the healthcare system. In many ways, it's broken. But the gaps are more in our remote and rural communities where healthcare, quite frankly, has been underinvested in for far too long. Rural residents eligible for Medicare tend to have lower incomes, maybe higher rates of chronic health conditions, multiple health conditions, than those living in the city. And so we do believe that Medicare Advantage can help fill some of those care gaps through the comprehensive services that many traditional Medicare plans don't offer. Services like telehealth, where you can jump on a video call or a phone call with your doc for diagnoses. Prescription drug delivery, where your prescription is delivered right to your home. Preventative care, wellness plans. Those are things that are covered in Medicare Advantage that can be really beneficial to rural communities, too far from a city center.
So I know you have to be working overtime right now, as we talk about the big ugly bill, right? But how does your organization engage with policymakers to protect Medicare Advantage, especially during federal budget cycles and legislative changes?
Yeah, so we're taking our message nationwide, as I said, to every community, because aging does not vote Republican or Democrat. Getting older is not a political issue. It happens to everybody, and so we want our voice to be heard in the halls of Congress, coming from constituents around the nation in every locale. And so that's our message. Is, we want to do this at the local level. We want your listeners and all the people we are talking to around the country to reach out to the members of Congress and say how important it is to protect seniors by protecting Medicare Advantage. Not only protect it, but let's strengthen it. A lot of seniors say they sure don't want Medicare Advantage cut, but they think the government should actually fund it more. And so, and they say that they are more likely to vote against the member of Congress who supports cutting spending for a program as vital as Medicare Advantage. And so that's the work we're doing. We are, thank you for saying we're passionate about it. We are. And that's the work we're doing, is just trying to get our message out and to educate and help people understand how important this is, that Medicare Advantage be strengthened and protected and not cut or defunded.
And we briefly touched on the polling, the findings of the polls. Can you talk to us about what findings stood out the most as it relates to the recent polling that you did in public opinion?
Yeah, so I kind of hit this at the top too, but 82% believe that cuts to Medicare Advantage will have a negative impact on their financial well-being, and that tells you everything they know. That health care, how to pay for health care, is directly tied in many cases to how you look at your finances, how you plan your year ahead. And so I think that's probably the thing that stands out the most. There's a direct link between how you pay for your health care and how you view your overall financial well-being. Again, the majority of Medicare enrollees have incomes of less than $25,000 a year. There's not a lot of margin for error.
Yeah.
You don't need uncertainty, in your life, especially when you're a senior and looking forward to aging gracefully and enjoying your later years. If you've got the cloud of how am I going to pay for this hanging over your head. And so, again, the certainty that Medicare Advantage provides should be a constant going forward for seniors. They should not have to be worried about this. And again, it's not only for them; it's for their family as well. Family members it takes a village to raise a kid and to care for an elder. Is what I like to say. And my mom and dad and I talk about that all the time. And so, again, we're taking care of our kids at home. We're taking care of our aging parents and family members. And so, it's important to have that certainty and that peace of mind.
Well, absolutely. I definitely agree. And did the data reveal anything surprising about who supports Medicare Advantage or why they value it?
The policy has pretty bipartisan support, pretty strong support on both sides. In recent years, there have been efforts to cut funding to Medicare Advantage. And so, and currently, the bill was, the budget bill has gone through the House. We were encouraged that the House did not include language that would cut Medicare Advantage in their version. It's now with the Senate, and they're doing their thing over there. But several in the Senate have floated the idea of maybe adding provisions that would undermine critical elements of the Medicare Advantage program and essentially cut funding. And that means seniors could lose access to dental or vision or hearing benefits, transportation benefits, wellness programs, the things that really help seniors age safely and independently. And so we are going to stay kind of on our front foot and fervent in our advocacy to protect this program. Here's the bottom line. A lot of people campaign on protecting Medicare and got elected by promising to protect Medicare and protect health care for seniors. And so any proposal that seeks to undermine Medicare Advantage goes against the will of voters. who resoundingly sent, the majorities to Washington. So we are going to stay fervent and make sure that everyone knows where we stand on this.
And how do you use the data from your polling to guide your strategy and outreach across the country?
Great question. So we, it reflects a lot of what we had seen before. We started doing our own surveys and our own research, so it's very much in line with what we hear all over the country. Our advocates nationwide are hearing the same things. It's really simple. Seniors do not want to have to worry about their health care. They want to know that their Medicare Advantage plans that they signed up for, that they rely on, that is extremely popular, that is extremely very high satisfaction rates, and everything that we've seen. This is an important part of a senior's ability to age gracefully and to have the certainty that they've got care for the medical needs that they have. And so I think that the consistency with which that question is answered every time we're out in the field and we hear back from seniors or others, it tells me something. And the other thing I'll tell you, I haven't mentioned this yet, is just the fact that the program, the Medicare Advantage program, again, as opposed to the traditional fee-for-service Medicare plan offerings, enrollment continues to grow. Medicare Advantage has really high satisfaction rates. Enrollment continues to grow year over year. Seniors, when presented with the choice of what is included in the Medicare Advantage plan versus just a traditional Medicare plan, it's pretty overwhelming. It's pretty comprehensive. The offerings that Medicare Advantage provides. And again, it's like taking all the best parts of Medicare and putting it into one bucket, bundling them all together. So you've got your dental, you've got your vision, you've got your health care protections for the out-of-pocket costs. Those are all really, really important. And the prescription drug costs, those are huge too. And so, the fact that Medicare Advantage puts that all together into one place is why seniors are really gravitating toward it, and why enrollment continues to grow year over year.
And listen, we have at WBOK a very astute, very, very dedicated listening audience. So what can our viewers and our listeners do to get more engaged on this issue? Because I think it's in a large population of our listeners are going to be in this bracket that depends on Medicaid and Medicare. So what can they do to get more engaged on the issue?
Well, like we've been talking about, and as you know very well, the best way to affect change and to make your voice heard starts at the local level. And so we would ask all of your listeners to go to learn more about our organization, Medicare Advantage. The website is MedicareAdvantageMajority.org. To learn more about us, to learn more about the Medicare Advantage offerings, but also we make it easy for you to sign a letter. You click a button and sign a letter to urge a member of Congress to stand up for seniors and to protect and strengthen Medicare Advantage. Our mission is to ensure, again, that entire caregiving ecosystem, the seniors who benefit from this, but the caregivers, the family members, doctors, they all understand how important this is, and they all have a voice with our policymakers in this debate.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you're just tuning in, Darren Grubb is the National Medicare spokesperson here talking about the powerful consensus that American seniors want Congress to protect Medicare Advantage. I wish you well in your endeavors to ensure that our seniors have what they need, and thank you for your service to them. We appreciate you, and you're welcome back anytime to give us important updates. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Great
Have a blessed one. Listen, we got to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about it. You know what I want to talk about? Did y'all try to vote this weekend? I know I did. Did you vote? I know I didn't, and I'm going to tell you why on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Good Monday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. New Orleans police are investigating 2 overnight shootings, one of them deadly. Officers say one man was found shot in the Tulane and Gravier Avenue on Bienville Street just before 2:30 this morning. Less than 30 minutes later, 2 more victims showed up at the hospital after a shooting in the lower Ninth Ward near North Prior and St. Maurice. One of them later died. No arrest or suspect details have been released. Happening today, nurses and labor advocates will rally outside University Medical Center over what they're calling retaliation. They claim UMC is targeting union leaders after a strike earlier this year, including efforts to fire a bargaining team nurse for what they describe as common practice. The group says this is about fair treatment and safe conditions for both nurses and patients. The rally is set for 5 p.m. at University Medical Center on Canal Street. The results are in, but not without a lot of confusion. The Crescent Soil and Water Conservation District says Erica Johnson has been selected to a seat on the board, but it comes after many of the polling locations yesterday ran out of ballots shortly after polls opened. Councilmember Helena Moreno has called for a review of the election, but the district says it'll make the results official in their next meeting. Now, it's important to know this election was not run by the clerk of court or Secretary of State. And if you catch the ferry between Algiers and Canal Street, you'll be able to ride later at night. The New Orleans Regional Transit Authority is launching a summer pilot program to extend hours. The ferries will now run every 15 minutes until just after midnight, 7 days a week for $2. The program continues through September 27th. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Monday, everybody. It's still Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fellas out there. If you're just joining the show, you missed a conversation with Darren Grubb, who is the National Medicare spokesperson, talking about the importance of protecting Medicare Advantage for our senior population. And we also earlier in the show talked to Mike Cowan from the New Orleans Crime Coalition, talking about this NOPD survey and the satisfaction that the city is apparently having with facial recognition and NOPD, and the crime rate is dropping and all of those things. And so I have a copy of some of the points out of the survey, but I want to take a look into some things. But I appreciate Mike for joining us, and I look forward to him coming back to give us additional updates, because I want to see that part 2. I absolutely want to see the part 2 about the policymakers. So hopefully we can engage in some additional dialogue when that when he avails himself to us regarding that piece of data. And right now, look, I want to give a shout out to Frank White. Frank White is a creative here in the city of New Orleans. He put on a play that I went to over the weekend called The Repast, and it was a comedic, biblical stage play as it relates to Jesus and the crucifixion, and they called it The Repast. It was over at McDonough 35 High School. Shout out to the Round Eagles of McDonough 35. And it was really, really good. And it came, I went to Mary Is My Name, that was directed by Tomei over at the church prior. And if you participated in either of those, like going to it or you went to both, it was so many connections made. And that tells you that both plays were authentic to Scripture. If you missed an opportunity to go, I'm not certain if Frank is going to put it on again, but I believe that young man deserves bigger stages, bigger audiences. Shout out to all of the folk who were a part of the stage play. I don't want to miss anybody, but I know Flag Boy Giz was in it, Smiley the comedian, Corey with the K, Shotty Feelgood, Dominique. It was so many people, so many creatives, and that tells you the level of creativity, ingenuity, innovation, genius that is walking the streets of New Orleans, homegrown talent. It tells you. And I listen, I would pay again to go see it again. It was that good. It was funny. It was biblical. And the part that stood out the most for me is I love when New Orleans pays homage to New Orleans. I love it. And in the play, everybody in the city of New Orleans knows the umbrella man that was ministering on the streets of New Orleans with his Bible and his bullhorn and his umbrella over his head. And Shervy portrayed the umbrella man in the play. Mark Caesar was also in the play. But Shervy, when I tell you, it was nostalgic. Like it was Daily Bread. Like you have to see it. And I'm hoping and praying that both of those plays, Mary Is My Name and The Repast, find its way on bigger stages in front of bigger audiences, traveling all over this place. And not simply to spread Scripture, but to also spread the beauty and creativity that is homegrown right in the city of New Orleans. Because there's another young creative in the city that told us everything you love about New Orleans is because of Black people. And every time we get an opportunity to showcase our genius, we live up to that mantra. Because they come in here, fly in here, flock in here to see us, to see you, and all of the beauty that you espouse. And it's going to be on display for Essence. Watch it. You're going to see beauty in all shades of Black. Men and women congregating and walking and loving amongst each other is going to be beautiful, as it always is right here in our city. And that is because folk understand where the culture of Black people is, where the love of Black people. This is going to be community coming up in here in July. So if you missed an opportunity to see the Repast, hopefully he's afforded an opportunity to do more of it. Or maybe it's on DVD somewhere. You notice I said DVD. Notice I hope it's on VHS somewhere for all of y'all people that don't want to go over to watching things on your cell phone, because I know I still like a good DVD myself. But hopefully he's afforded the opportunity, and Tomei and the First Lady are afforded the opportunity for bigger stages, bigger crowds. Maybe Tyler Perry is paying attention. Maybe he will help fund it so that the production will amount to the talent that we see. Because the production and Frank did an amazing job, but with the right amount of backing, I believe this thing can really take off. So shout out to Frank White and all of the New Orleans homegrown talent that graced the stage at McDonough 35 for the Repast. Shout out to all of the folk who showed up to support it. Kaz May was in it. Casimir is an Edna Card Cougar. Shout out to the Cougars, baby. She's in it. It's so many people in it, and for blame my head and not my heart, because I'm going off memory of what I saw. So it was so many people a part of it. Frank's baby girl was helping backstage. It was really a family affair, a community affair. And if you missed it, you missed a really good one. Corey with the K, I talked to him after. He's such a humble, sweet, gentle young man. I told him, I hope God increases his territory. Mario P was also in it. Straight clown. Straight clown. So many homegrown New Orleans folk were in that play. And shout out to Frank White for making certain that he put all of those people in position. Tanya Boyd Cannon played the mother of Jesus in it. Y'all know the talent that Tanya Boyd Cannon is. She's an exceptional hostess. Exceptional talent, can sing you to the ground. But to see her in her element, acting and singing and just enjoying the community that is us, it was a wonderful thing to see. And I hope and pray for more, bigger and better for all of those folk who took part in the repast. Shout out to McDonald 35 for providing the space and the stage for that talent to shine. So shout out to Frank White. If you are on social media and you haven't seen it, go to all of those people's pages and just show them some love. All of the comedians who are part of it, all of the people who helped put it together, the young lady that was doing the lighting and the stage work, all of the shout out to all of y'all. It was wonderful. 10 out of 10, I recommend. But before the break, I was telling you, you guys about this election that was had. And I want to make it very clear. This election was not run by the clerk of court or the secretary of state. So that begs the question, who put the election on? Because I'm curious as to how we could do an election with a finite number of ballots. Is it because we have normalized the idea that folk just don't show up for off elections? You know, the ones where there ain't no governor, no mayor, you know, nothing big is happening. Have we normalized that? Have we made people believe that we have fallen so out of love with the democratic process that they don't even print enough ballots for the people who are registered to vote? Is that what it was? Because I know by 12:30, where I was supposed to vote at, they were out of ballots. I saw other places putting notes on the door, folks signing up saying they were there, but they couldn't vote. I vote each and every time. I don't care if it's a shoe tying contest. If I'm supposed to be voting, I'm going to vote. But I couldn't vote. So what happens? Does my vote not matter? Is my voice not going to be heard? I want to vote. Are we going to run this thing back? I wonder if Danny Danny, we need you and your folk that like to challenge elections. Are we going to challenge this, Danny? We going to put our money where our mouth is and say, help me now. I want to vote. I need somebody to call in and explain to me what happens now. Because certainly, if it happened to me, it happened to a bunch of people, what happens to our vote and our voice? Miss Alicia, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. I was waiting for you to talk about this. The young lady who was running, Erica Johnson, she came to our OPDEC meeting on Wednesday night. We just didn't know what was going on, never heard of it. She came and explained stuff to us. She was the incumbent. She went on maternity leave, and they slipped somebody in her spot while she was on maternity leave, so she came back to claim her seat. And you're not going to hear me talk about a repeat. I'm not going to be advocating for an investigation. She beat them at their game. Miss Erica Johnson beat them at their game. They thought that they can get a few little polling sites, only 300 ballots per polling site, and they thought it was going to be a sleeper for the guy to get in. But they say she won, and I'm done. I'm not.
Oh, she won. She won even without us voting, and even with them trying to think that they were gonna print up a few ballots. Y'all, they have to be stopped.
Nah. So I am not going to be advocating a repeat. I'm not going to be advocating investigation. They knew what they were doing, and they were doing it to be against her. She beat them at their game. The people came out, and it wasn't just us, because you had some people from the parish that came in over in New Orleans East at that church in New Orleans East to vote. But, baby, look, I put my vote in at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and I was done, and I'm happy to hear that she won.
So what you're saying is you don't want Danny to challenge this one. You don't want him to be up in there talking about
don't want no
not
challenge.
counted.
Don't want nobody saying that they snuck this in on us, which they did, but it backfired on them. So I say congratulations to Erica Johnson, and I'm with her 100%. Don't know her, but, you know, she came to our meeting and told us, again, we were astonished. We didn't know anything, but we got out there. She won. It's done. Let's move on.
Thank you, Miss Alicia. Appreciate you. But let me tell you something, Miss Alicia. I was going to vote for her, too. I want all her votes to count. Because Erica, girl, you had my vote, but, I mean, my polling location ran out of ballots. But the church that Miss Alicia is speaking of was the Crown of Life Lutheran Church at 11721 Morrison Road. The other polling locations in Orleans Parish was New Harmony High School at 3368 Esplanade Avenue, and in the Merity Bywater, 5 Homer Plessy Way. And in Jefferson, we had two locations, the feed store at 4421 Jefferson Highway and the feed store at 2949 Veterans Boulevard. And in Lake Charles, there were 3 locations, the VFW, which was at 140 Angus Drive. That's in Luling. They had one in Norco at 375 Spruce Street. And then there was another one at Allen. It was 14564 River Road, the Allen Arterbury building. And so, listen, congratulations, Erica, either way, because there were a number of folks still waiting to vote for you, but we ain't had no ballot. So look, I tell people all the time, like you sometimes when you're trying to rig the system against people, you end up rigging the system against yourself because you thought that the people weren't going to come out in full force, but Erica was out there doing her leg work. She was going to the meetings and telling people what was going on. And if you don't know what position we're talking about, it's the Crescent Soil and Water Conservation District. That's what we were supposed to be voting on. But they ran out of ballots pretty early. I'm talking about early, like 12 o'clock, 12:30. Ballots were gone. So that meant folk were in line when the polls opened. They were in line. So shout out to Erica Johnson. Congratulations. I don't know you either, ma'am, but I know you were in a meeting with some of the very people I trust, whose insight I lean into, and I know that you were there and talking about the issue and what they were trying to do to take you out of your seat. And we don't like folk who try to do the wrong thing and try to sell it to us like it's for the right reasons. And in my Nene Leakes voice, you can't win when you play dirty. You got to watch Real Housewives to know what that means. You can't win when you play dirty. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Wild.
How you doing?
All right, good. Yeah, they thought they was, what had happened was they thought they was running an election, but they was doing it like jury duty, and they was issuing summons. They only issued so many summons. So once they hit their quota, once the prosecutor, they ran it like a jury summons as opposed to an election, and they combined the two. That's why they ran out of ballots. They had the quota of potential jurists. But nevertheless, when we're talking about the legalities of things, in the great Lone Star State of Texas, they have like a $58 billion surplus. Let me repeat that. $58 billion surplus. Now, I remember when Governor Bell Edwards left governorship in Louisiana, they had like a $2 billion surplus in the state of Louisiana. Texas has a $58 billion surplus. The rainy day fund can't hold any more money by law. Texas Southern University in Houston, HBCU, has one of 6 law schools at a HBCU. Thurgood Marshall School of Law. And they requested the administration of Texas Southern and the alumni, law student alumni, which includes our New Orleans' very own Al Green, Congressman Al Green. And nevertheless, they've been requesting money to build a new law school because the American Bar Association said that their building that they've been in since for over 50 years is not living up, meeting the health and safety standards that a law school must provide for all students, including those with disabilities. They need more elevators. They need more access for people with disabilities who study law. Now, Texas Southern's wanted only 6 law schools that's at a HBCU: Southern University in Baton Rouge, Miles College, Howard University, I believe Florida A&M, and I'm missing one. But North Carolina Central. And so they requested, now we already established that HBCUs have been underfunded for eons. But a state with almost $60 billion in surplus, Texas Southern requested $400 million to upgrade some facilities at campus and build a new law school building. They were denied. And then this year, this past legislative session, which ended June 2nd, they requested $200 million for a new law school and some maintenance on campus. They were denied. With a state with almost $60 billion in surplus. But they got money for vouchers. They found money to have vouchers for those who want to send their children to private school. They found $1 billion for that. Mm. So when you talk about voting, people talk about, well, they're going to do what they want. It don't matter. Voting doesn't matter. They're going to do it. We really have to continue to hammer home the importance of being engaged in civic and civil discourse.
No,
in this country.
I agree with you, Don. But what I will push back on you with is that voting doesn't matter. This is the type of stuff that folk listen to, and then they kind of like lean into that. You can't say it doesn't matter and then say we have to be engaged civically. Part of being engaged
I said that tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I mean, part of being engaged
I
civically.
said people say.
Oh, okay.
People use that excuses.
All right.
That
okay.
voting
Thank you
doesn't
for
matter.
correcting that, because
But yet,
I just don't want that
when they just look around them, when they look around, when they open the refrigerator, when they hit that light switch, when they turn on that air conditioner, that heater, voting, everything involves legislative and the legality of it.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about, the law school. We have to understand the legal aspect, because when Thurgood Marshall and Charles Hamilton Houston was in the courtroom, you also had marches and sit-ins and freedom rides.
Yeah.
So it's not either or, it's both and.
Absolutely, I agree. I got to go to breakdown, but I appreciate you so much. Thank you for calling in. Cedric, don't go nowhere. I'm going to catch you on the other side of the break. Listen, y'all, I want to be very clear, and I apologize if I misheard, Don, but I just want to make it very, very clear. We're not going to ever on these airwaves ever put out the message that voting doesn't matter, because it does. And it shows us each and every time how important it is to vote, and how important it is to not fall out of love with your democratic responsibility. Because if each of us are doing our job, if all of us are doing our job at the same time, you can't tell me that a change ain't gonna come. We have to do it at the same time. We have to be serious about every election, including one where they only print up 2 ballots and they got 200,000 people. Because now I'm hearing that the New Harmony location was out of ballots at 9:15. You ain't even have enough ballots for the first hour of voting. It's sick what they try to do, but congratulations to Erica Johnson. We're going to keep talking, and I hope you keep listening. There's more on the other side of the break. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Hot and muggy with a chance for storms. Our summertime pattern continues with partly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms arriving as we get hotter throughout the day. Heaviest rain likely mid-afternoon. Localized flooding is possible. Highs rise to the upper 80s and low 90s, feeling like the upper 90s and low 100s. More 90s this week with daily afternoon storms possible. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hoops, Heat, The Truth, On Demand. Ball Don't Lie is now live on all podcast platforms. Tap in, search WBOK Media, find Ball Don't Lie, and bring the fire with you wherever you go. Download, share, and leave that 5-star review because the game doesn't stop when the show ends.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Back. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, maybe you're missing a hot one, but we got Cedric on the line. Good morning, Cedric. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, I was watching Facebook Saturday, and someone was talking about, don't forget today is election day. So the voting poll is around the corner from me, and it was close. I was watching also last night WDSU News, Channel 6, and it showed, they had a picture of the lady who won. I didn't know, I now know, listening to your show, that, and the caller that called, she was the incumbent, and they had a white guy. Now, my concern is this. According to Channel 6, they're saying that Helena Moreno is asking for a recall. So I would like to know why. and I'll leave that at there. And voting is very important. Part of our problem is because we have decided not to vote. And I believe maybe we should change some of the people that we're voting for. So, and then don't believe me. According to DSU last night, Helena Moreno was asking for a recall, and I would like to know why. And thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Cedric. Listen, I think she may be asking for that because so many people didn't have an opportunity to exercise their democratic right. But as you see, some of the callers are saying they're okay with the outcome because of the way that the election was even put together. It was put together to try to circumvent the incumbent from having a fair opportunity, and I hate the word fair, or an equitable opportunity at her reclaiming her seat. And sometimes when we make a plan to try to destroy somebody, we end up getting caught in a crossfire. And so that's what this seems like happened here, because I'm not certain why you would print up a handful of ballots and think that that was going to slide by. I don't know why they thought that. I don't know. But it seems that even if the call of it happens, there are so many people, such as myself, who intended to vote for her and didn't have the opportunity. So either way it goes, congratulations to Erica Johnson, who is the incumbent, and now based on the game that they set up, based on the rules they wanted to play by, she also reclaimed her seat. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I wish her well moving forward. Now, what I want to talk to you about really quickly is, I don't know if y'all heard, I told y'all I watched the news so y'all don't have to, but Minnesota lawmaker shootings happened since the last time we were engaging in conversation with each other. And when these assassinations happened, the folk on the right were very quick to try to attach this to some sort of leftist agenda, trying to act as if the Democratic Party or folk who vote Democrat were somehow responsible for this Trump supporter going to the homes of Democratic leaders and trying to execute them. Now, what I find to be strange is these folk in these United States don't know domestic terrorism when they see it. Or they don't want to label it domestic terrorism. So why you running around here rounding up innocent people because they don't look like you and trying to deport them to El Salvador? One of the Trump supporters is out there assassinating Democratic leaders. And the Trump administration isn't calling it domestic terrorism, nor did they kill him on sight. Oh, no. They politely arrested him like they did that white boy that went into that black church and prayed with them people and executed them, took them to Burger King. I wonder if they stopped at McDonald's for this domestic terrorist. I don't know, but it seems like they know how to police that doesn't lead to death and destruction when they want to. Because if there was any time to use deadly force, certainly it would be somebody that's running around here with a hit list of Democratic lawmakers going to their homes and killing them and their husbands, or shooting them and their wives. Huh? Certainly, if there was any time to use that deadly training that y'all like to exercise on black people all the time, all willy-nilly, certainly that would have been the time, but no. This domestic terrorist was captured. And look, I appreciate your restraint. I don't want to see nobody die. I want to see them face a judge and a jury and have the day that they deserve in court. But I just be trying to figure out, how all of this, this restraint doesn't show itself in other circumstances and situations. This man went to the door of these people's homes and executed them. Oh, he wanted, Cedric, you wanted to say investigation instead of recall. We corrected for you. You say Helena Moran is calling for an investigation instead of a recall into the election. See how I corrected that for you real quick? No problem. But I'm just trying to figure out why Kristen Noem ain't cosplaying as a ICE agent and going around rounding up domestic terrorists. Huh? Is it because they look at that American flag as some sort of patriotic scarf that they wear when they want to carry out their racist antics all over the place, like their commander-in-chief who's calling for ICE agents to besiege other democratic cities all across this country? And y'all want to act like this is not about racism? What else is it about? You're not sending ICE into the areas that you feel like support you, but you're sending them into areas that you feel like oppose you. We have a petulant child in the White House. Petulant. Who have very soft feelings and a bad comb over. He mad because his mom and daddy ain't cute, so he ain't cute. That's why he mad. If I had to wake up and see your face in the mirror every day, I'd be upset too. Or look down at a golf ball and I can't see the ball from my big old stomach, I'd be mad too. Because instead of golfing, you need to be walking on a treadmill, sir, so you can walk up the stairs of Air Force One without toppling over. I'm so sick of this. It's crazy. You can have a hitman go to the homes of leaders in our democracy and execute them, and they don't want to label it domestic terrorism. And somehow he ain't got a scratch on him. And then he was disguised as police and actual. So who helped him? Who gave him the outfit? Huh? He was around here cosplaying like the police, like Kristen Noem doing. And she don't know what she doing because we don't know who she is. Do we believe her old face or her new face? Because she ain't like her face either. That's why she went, got all that plastic surgery, and now her face pulled so tight she can't think straight. I'm sick of all these people pretending to be governmental officials, running amok in the country, having $45 million parades that 45 people didn't even show up at. The military couldn't even be bothered to march properly. This is what we doing, $45 million for a parade. And y'all trying to cut Medicaid and Medicare and education. But you got $45 million to swing around for a dictator. But let me tell you something. Israel and Iran are beefing, and France then took the side of Israel, and South Korea said, okay, well, we gonna back Iran, and anybody that got a problem with it could come see us. Y'all throwing $45 million parades, and we about to have a whole war on our hands because we know what the United States gonna do. They ain't never on the right side of a crisis. They ain't never on the right side of humanity. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. This man, an avid Trump supporter, them people really try to tell us that this was some leftist violence. Because, see, they don't care about the truth. They just got to get their side out first because they know the very people who voted for him, they don't even have Dr. Seuss books in their house. They can't tell you green egg from a blue egg, but they want to tell you about they voted for him because of the economy. Spell economy. Spell it. You can't even afford eggs, but you talking about we voted for him because of the economy. No, you voted for him because you could not fathom voting for a black woman. That's why. And that's why he giving you something you could feel. Deporting all your loved ones, snatching them off the streets, raising prices left and right. And now you on the internet crying to us about where all the black people at. Over here minding our 92% business because these laws wasn't never for us in the first place. That flag don't represent the humanity of our people. So why we got to keep coming Captain Save y'all, and when we need y'all over there voting for a dictator? How about you have the day you voted for and stop asking us where we at? Huh? They got a white man out here killing legislators. Huh? Voting for Trump. Going to people's homes, killing them. Is that where that's what this has come to? But y'all was mad at Luigi. Y'all gonna be mad with him? With Vance Bolter? He went to them people's homes and executed them. They got pictures of the front door with 9 bullets through the door. That man lived. But the woman he shot and her husband, they weren't so fortunate. And he had a list, Naren. He wasn't done. He had a hit list. Y'all playing and these people serious. I'm asking us to come together on one accord. We ain't got to like everything about each other, but we got to come together to defend this, to defend ourselves from an assault from our own government. Y'all stay tuned. Up next for the Front Porch with Grilling and Kimber. As far as the Good Morning Show, Dr. Ashanta White, my super producer, Naren Sanders. We gonna see y'all tomorrow. Happy Father's Day, fellas.